So I just watched 50 Shades of Grey. So the movie starts out with Anastasia Steele, who is our main character, going to have an interview with Christian Grey because her journalist student roommate is sick and can't make the interview, so she sent her English literature student friend, Anna, or Anastasia or whatever, to go and do the interview with him. And this just seems to me already to be fundamentally flawed, because why would you do that? Why would you not just email saying, can we rearrange it? Can we do it on another date? Because I am ill and I'm unavailable. And as evidenced by what happens later in the movie, this guy has a lot of free time on his hands, so they could have done that. But no, instead they just send this girl who doesn't know anything about interviewing people to interview this guy. And also, why is he answering questions for a student newspaper? What does he do at his telecommunications company? Isn't he busy, ever? But yeah, she goes and does the interview with him, and they, I guess, flirt. He talks so much like a robot, it's kind of hard to tell. But she's like immediately taken with him, and he's immediately taken with her, and you just know that they want to get together and do the things. You know the things I mean. But she goes back to her life. He answers all the questions she didn't actually ask him via email, which seems like it would have been a better solution than sending your friend along in the first place. You could have just emailed him the questions and asked for a response that way, which would have saved everyone a lot of time, but that's just me. She works at a hardware store. He comes into a hardware store and he wants to buy like tape, cable ties and rope. And she says, well, you're the perfect serial killer. And he says, almost. Like, this is flirting? I don't know. Also, at one point he says, well, you must have been a Girl Scout because she can pull rope off a spool of rope. Seems like a thing that anyone could do. While he's there at the hardware store, they arrange for him to come and do pictures again the next day, because they don't have any original pictures they can use, so they want him to do pictures, which again makes me raise the question of what does he do, because he's like, oh yeah, I'm available tomorrow. Also, that they talk about at one point, you know, which of the three authors got you into English literature? Was it Thomas Hardy, Charlotte Bronte, or Jane Austen? I'm pretty sure there are more authors than three. But then, after this coffee, as a way of apologising for being kind of a douche to her when they're having coffee, he sends her first edition Thomas Hardy books because she mentioned earlier that she liked Thomas Hardy. And that seems like a bit of an extravagant present, because I looked up how much a Thomas Hardy first edition of, say, Tess of the D'Urbervilles, which is what he sends her a quote on the card with, would go for, and that's about £40,000. And her friends go to a bar and she gets really drunk and calls him, which, why does she have his number? That doesn't seem like she should already have that, but what do I know? So she has his number, she calls him, and he's like, you're drunk, stay where you are, I'm coming to get you. Never finds out where she is, but somehow turns up there, pushes her friend away, who's, you know, her friend's trying to kind of get with her, but then he pushes her away like, no, as though he's already decided that she belongs to him, which is not okay. Yeah, that's very, very, very weird. And he takes her back to his hotel, and yeah, and he's saying to her, you shouldn't get drunk, you put yourself in danger. She's allowed to get drunk, she is a human being. And what he particularly said in this one, which is that really, you know, was a warning sign for me. If you were mine, you wouldn't have been able to sit for a week. I mean, he just threatened you with physical violence because you got drunk. This is not a man you want to be with. And then he's like, well, no, before I can do that, I would need written consent. But then he takes her into the lift and he's like, oh, fuck the paperwork, and kisses her. And it's like, what? Why establish that he wants paperwork if you're then going to have him say fuck it 2 seconds later? Yeah, and it just feels like everything that he says that they're trying to make sound vaguely romantic just comes off as creepy. He takes her on a helicopter ride to Seattle, I think it is, where he lives, and makes her sign a non-disclosure agreement, which again, warning signs. Well, after she signs the non-disclosure, if she asks, are you going to make love to me now? Is it, I don't make love, I fuck hard. And then he shows her the red room, and it's, you know, that line where it's, this is my playroom. What do you mean, like your Xbox? and it's the Red Room, and it's like full of like whips and cuffs and things and stuff that seems like very, very basic BDSM. And he just keeps acting like it's so dark and tormenting and difficult, but it's like, it's just a riding crop. That's about the extent of it. Like, the movie clearly thinks that making him into BDSM is making him a complex and interesting character, but it's just not, because being BDSM is not creepy and weird. It's a perfectly normal thing that people do. What makes him creepy and weird is the fact that he is abusive and controlling, and you do not want to be with this person. And so, now that she's agreed, or she's signed the non-disclosure agreement, she hasn't agreed to everything yet, that they have sex. And it's boring, normal, missionary position sex. Yeah, there's some nudity, there's equal opportunities nudity, which I appreciate. There's some man-ass in this, as well as tits. Sorry, Mum. My main thought while watching this not especially interesting sex scene, like I've seen hotter stuff on TV. My main thought was, but they still haven't done the paperwork. He gives her the contract of how they shall sex, how all the rules will work for them having sex. You know, and it goes through like quite in depth into explaining what is laid out in this contract, and it's boring. Like, in your hot, sexy movie, no one wants to see your sex reduced to legal drama. They're emailing back and forth about stuff with the contract, and she said, "Yeah, I've been through it. It was nice knowing you." Basically, tells him to leave her alone. And then he shows up in her apartment. I'm guessing he broke in, because there's never a line implying that the roommate let him in, which I guess is what they meant it to be, but it very much just feels like he broke in so that he could have sex with her. Then it goes on to the contract negotiations. And they're in this room, and it's like lit all red, which I guess is meant to be like, it's symbolic of the fact that she's entering into the Red Room in that world, and like that it's dark and moody and interesting, but all I can think of is, you're meant to be negotiating over the contract here. This lighting is not going to help you read the thing. You're meant to be a businessman, you are bad at this. And they're going through all the different parts of the contract, and it's like, no genital clamps, none of this, none of that. My hard limits are these, you know, there will be no fisting, there will be none of this. Hi, Mum. What's a butt plug? Like, how do you not know? How do you live in this day and age without knowing what a butt plug is? I mean, how do you read the phrase butt plug and not immediately know what a butt plug is? She leaves the negotiation without signing the contract, says, "I'm gonna go and think about it." But then the next scene is her graduation, and Christian Grey is presenting awards at the graduation. Like, he gives a speech, and then he's shaking people's hands and congratulating, and then while there, she says, "Yes, I'll do it," and it's literally the next scene. So it makes me wonder, why bother putting in that scene? Why not just have her agree while she's at the contract negotiations? You could have saved me some time. This movie is 2 hours long. What are you doing to me? She goes to have sex with him in the Red Room, and he cuffs her to this like thing hanging down from the ceiling, and then lightly taps her with a riding crop. I mean, it really is the tamest. I have seen far more interesting kinky stuff on TV, a regular TV drama, where they can't even show nudity. I have seen hotter sex scenes than this movie. Then they're having dinner with the Grey family, and for some reason Anastasia's roommate and her boyfriend are there, and that makes literally no sense, because why were they invited to have dinner with Christian's family when he hardly knows them, does not care about them at all? In fact, it barely even makes sense that Anastasia's there, because he's not meant to really care about her. He's meant to just be his submissive. So you're sending mixed signals here, Christian. You're not even good at the weirdness you're trying to be. But while they're at the dinner, she mentions that she's going to Georgia to see her mother tomorrow. And Christian's like, "What? You didn't tell me." And then they have a bit of an argument, and she complains that he's trying to change her and get her into the BDSM, but she is trying to change him and get him to be in like normal relationships, which he has clearly stated he does not want to do. While she's sleeping, he goes on this monologue about how his biological mother was a crack addict and a prostitute, and I guess that's meant to be the explanation for why he does the things he does, which you don't need to explain it. People can just be into BDSM without having a tragic backstory. And in fact, that's kind of an offensive thing to say, that to be into BDSM you must have trauma in your life. All this stuff must have happened to you. You don't need that. It doesn't make sense, that. Please stop that. She goes to Georgia to see her mother, and Christian follows her there. Again, this is a stalker move. He is a creep. Run. And then they have what I have written in my notes as the no reason glider scene, where they're riding a glider for no reason. It's a scene. She wants him to open up to her and explain why he is the way he is, and he says what is possibly the dumbest line in the movie. And that is saying a lot considering how dumb most of the lines in this movie are. But he says the line, "Because I'm 50 shades of fucked up." And that is a line that someone got paid to write. It's just enough to make you cry. He whips her 6 times with his belt. And that, for Anna, is the relationship breaker, even though, again, this seems quite tame. But no, it's a relationship breaker. She is gone. She is out the door. And that's where the movie ends. And so all that happened in this movie is they met, they got together, they had sex a few times, they broke up. That took 2 hours to tell when I've just told in a couple of seconds. And yeah, obviously there are romance films where it works, a plot like that, but not this one, because this one, the romance is stalkerish and weird and creepy, and it's not good. Nothing about this movie is very good. The characters are lame, the plot, there isn't one. The filmmaking, it's adequate, you know, there's a couple of shots in there that are kind of nice, but nothing particularly memorable or interesting. The score was by Danny Elfman, which I found kind of surprising that such a big name as him worked on this. It's not even so bad it's good. Like, you can't... There's not even anything really to laugh at other than a couple of really terrible lines. It's just boring and dull. If you really want to watch a good movie about a BDSM relationship starring a main character called Mr. Grey, go watch Secretary, because that is a really good movie. I mean, that is a movie that actually understands what it's talking about and has interesting, relatable characters. That is a movie you should watch. This is a movie you should not. So I suppose, yeah, that's my final thought. Fuck this movie, go watch Secretary.